Welcome back. Now for your 5-day weather forecast, we go outside to Sarah Savage.
We are continuing to experience unseasonably warm weather, with temperatures making it feel more like summer. But today may be the last day to enjoy the heat wave. Now here's your 5-day weather forecast. Today is expected to see a mix of sun and clouds with a 40% chance of showers. The temperature is expected to reach a high of 25 degrees and a low of 14. Tomorrow should see a mix of sun and clouds with a high of 16 degrees and a low of 9. Saturday is calling for showers with a low of 7 degrees and a high of 8. And the showers are expected to continue into Sunday, but the skies should clear by the end of the day with a high of 12 degrees and a low of 5. Monday is expected to be sunny with a high of 7 degrees and a low of 1. That's your 5-day weather forecast. Enjoy the warm weather while you can. Now back to the newsroom.
Thanks, Sarah. After more than 30 hours in a standoff with French police, a man suspected in 7 killings is dead. France's Interior Minister says Mohamed Mira jumped to his death after police went into his apartment in Toulouse. The suspect, who was in his bathroom, began firing his gun when he came out of the room. 2 police officers suffered non-life-threatening injuries in the confrontation. 23-year-old Mira was a French citizen of Algerian descent and had claimed links to Al-Qaeda. French President Nicolas Sarkozy says an investigation to determine if he had any accomplices is underway.
U.S. President Barack Obama is expected to urge federal agencies to fast-track the approval of the southern part of the Keystone XL pipeline. The approval process for a pipeline can take up to a year. Obama wants that timeline slashed by several months. The southern leg of the pipeline runs from Cushing, Oklahoma to Texas refineries on the Gulf of Mexico. The U.S. State Department has not yet made a decision on the entire pipeline project, saying it needs more time to conduct an environmental review. Republicans have been criticizing the president's decision to delay the pipeline and have blamed him for rising gas prices.
The NDP has been given some good news as they go into their leadership convention this Friday. According to a recent survey by Environics, the party is tied for first place in popularity alongside the Conservatives for the first time in 25 years. In the lead up to the 2011 election, the Conservatives had 40% support among decided voters. The NDP had 22%. Environics' latest poll has the Tories' support dropping to 30%. The NDP moved up 8% to tie with the Conservatives. The Liberals' numbers have remained pretty steady, going from 19% during the election to 20% now. The NDP will hold its leadership vote Saturday in Toronto to find a successor for Jack Layton.
Tuesday's sentencing of Graham James has come under scrutiny. James was given 2 years in prison for 2 counts of sexual assault. Today, officials are reviewing whether there are grounds for an appeal in the case. The Crown was seeking a 6-year sentence for James, who assaulted ex-NHLer Theron Fleury and his cousin Todd Holt. The incidents took place while James coached the pair in the 80s and early 90s. The Crown will have 30 days to appeal the sentence.
The United Nations is drawing attention to the need for fresh water across the globe with World Water Day. The UN says this year's theme of water and food security highlights the global need to use less water to produce food. Organizers are reminding consumers to eat lower on the food chain to conserve water. The group reports it takes about 2,000 liters of water to produce 1 kilogram of wheat. It takes about 15,000 to produce the same amount of beef. The official ceremony kicked off this morning at the UN Food and Agriculture headquarters in Rome.
And now with your sports news, here's Luke Vermeer.
Humber Soccer is kicking off today for the final time this season. The OCAA Indoor Soccer Finals go today and tomorrow, and both the Humber men's and women's teams will be in action. Both teams are looking to continue their success this season and repeat as provincial champions. So far this year, the women boast a 19-1-1 record with championships at the Redeemer, Sheridan, and George Brown tournaments. In the NBA, the Toronto Raptors are still losers. The Dinos fell 94-82 to the Chicago Bulls last night at the ACC. DeMar DeRozan led all scorers with 23 points, but a 32-point fourth quarter from the Bulls gave them the easy win. The Raps are next in action Friday night when they host the Knicks. The hammer of justice has fallen in the NFL, and the judgment is harsh for the New Orleans Saints. Saints management and coaches were implicated for their roles in the bounty scandal, where players would be given money as a reward for knocking other star players out of games. The main penalties were handed out to Saints head coach Sean Payton, who received a full-year suspension, General Manager Mickey Loomis, who received an 8-game suspension, former defensive coordinator Greg Williams, who received an indefinite ban, and assistant head coach Joe Vitt, who received 6 games. Tebow Mania has officially ended in Denver. Less than a day after officially announcing the signing of Peyton Manning as their new quarterback, the Broncos dealt the popular signal caller to the New York Jets. In return, the Broncos will receive a 4th-round pick and a 6th-round pick in the upcoming draft. Denver will also be sending a 7th to New York. In the NHL, the Shanahammer has fallen, and it might fall again in the next few days. Phoenix Coyotes captain Shane Doan has been suspended for 3 games for his hit on Dallas Stars forward Jamie Benn. The hit occurred during overtime of Tuesday's game between the Stars and the Coyotes. Also, Duncan Keith will have a hearing with the NHL disciplinarian Brendan Shanahan to discuss his hit on Daniel Sedin last night. Keith administered an elbow to the head of the Vancouver Star midway through the first period of last night's game. Chicago next plays on Friday, and Shanahan is expected to make a decision by then. And that's your sports update. Now back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you, Luke. After the break, we'll get the latest in entertainment from Adriano Mancini.
The Hunger Games are set to begin, and Charlie Sheen is back in the news. I have your entertainment update coming up after the break.